هيا جميعا بادروا.
Drive Time 91.3. Always on the cutting edge.
Voice of the Cape Drive Time. Welcome back to the show. 0829 913 913 is the WhatsApp line. Right into the studio, right in my face, right on the screen. Online, we are going to be talking to Alicia Rotman, Case Manager at the Office of the Ombud for the Financial Services Providers. And she's going to tell us exactly who is, it's called FICE for short, who is the FICE Ombud, what do they do, where are they doing it, how are they doing it, etc., etc. But Talisha, welcome to the show.
Hi, Shafiq, and hello to all the listeners. It's really nice to join you this afternoon.
Nice to join you as well. Financial services providers, what are we talking about here?
I'm going to tell you more about our office. Our office for the Ombud for Financial Services Providers was established by the Financial Advisory and Intermediary Services Act, number 37 of 2002. It's called the FASE Act. The objective of the office is to consider and dispose of complaints by clients against financial service providers in a procedurally fair, informal, economical, and expeditious manner, and by reference to what is equitable in all circumstances. And the lovely thing about our office is that we do these services for free.
Okay, that sounds good. You got my attention. Definitely on that one. But on a more serious note, just to sort of frame it even more, I'm sure you'd agree that the financial sector in South Africa is quite well respected because it's well regulated. It's difficult for somebody to get away with something that is not quite right. Would you agree with that? That our regulatory environment in terms of financial services is quite strong?
Yes, I do agree with you. There's a lot of laws that protect consumers, and we have a good regulator. And the Office of the Ombud is also there to assist people when there are issues and misunderstandings.
Okay, time for me to ask the really stupid question, because I'm quite stupid. What exactly does the FICE Ombud do?
Okay, the Ombud deals with complaints that are submitted to the office by a specific client against a financial service provider. So a financial service provider could be a bank, a broker, or any intermediary person who's provided advice to a complainant. The complaint could be any particular complaint relating to a financial service that I've said now that's been rendered by a representative of such a provider of the complaint. The complaint will be considered if it is alleged that the provider or representative has contravened or failed to comply with the provision of the FASE Act, and that as a result thereof, the complainant has suffered or is likely to suffer financial prejudice or damage, has willfully or negligently rendered a financial service to the complainant and has caused prejudice or damage to the complainant, or which is likely to result in prejudice or damage, or has treated the complainant unfairly.
Okay, that certainly is fairly explicit. And of course, just to sort of add some more flesh, that financial advisors who move around in these waters themselves are also under very strict rules, aren't they? They have to write exams.
Yes,
tests.
that's correct. They have exams to write before they are able to actually render services to the public, and even the financial services provider itself should also be licensed.
And of course, these exams is not just a once-off. They, like a driving license, every couple of years they have to be they have to be sort of they have to have a look at
evaluated.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Okay, now let's just get down to the nuts and bolts. I've been dealing with an investment company, and I'm a happy client. Maybe it might be a bank. But what are some of the important things that I should consider before I think about lodging a complaint?
Okay, so before you approach our office, we recommend that you actually try and resolve the complaint with the party first that you're complaining about. So you must provide them with at least 6 weeks to resolve the complaint with you. Okay? And once you've received a final response, you are then welcome to submit a complaint to the office. A complaint must be submitted to our office in writing, or in circumstances deemed appropriate, the Ombudsman may receive a complaint in any other manner which conveys the complaint in a comprehensible form. A complaint must, where necessary, be accompanied by available documentation in the complainant's possession, and that's very important, is that you have evidence to back up your complaint. In addition, the office may not investigate complaints where the complainant became aware or ought to have become aware of the act or omission complained of more than 3 years before the receipt thereof by the office. In other words, you have 3 years to lodge a complaint with the office when you become aware of any concern surrounding any financial service that you've received.
Right. Now, there's a question here. It says, what is the maximum amount that I can claim? So I'm assuming that if I invest a certain amount of money, let's say I invest 100K, and I'm really unhappy, I think I've been totally ripped off, that I might think I need to complain about it. And then it says, who can I complain about? I think that's also important, the amount and exactly who qualifies to be complained about. Let's put it that way.
Okay. So our office has a monetary jurisdiction, which means that you cannot claim in excess of 800,000 unless the responding party has agreed in writing to this limitation being exceeded. Okay, so we would then need the other side's permission then to exceed the limit. So our office's limit is 800,000. Okay,
Right.
And then your second question was, who can you complain about? Okay, and your complaint can be about any financial service or advice that you received, or any intermediary service. So it's anything that's got to do with bankers, brokers, your medical aid, anything that's finance, any insurance-related policy, investment, or anything like that.
Okay, a question has just quickly come across my WhatsApp line. I'll find out whether you can deal with it. It says, I would like to know, how does one go about if your broker tells others of the policies that you have, and then the broker denies that? Would that fall under the ambit of the FICE Ombud, or would that person have to deal with the broker and the company concerned?
Okay, in that case, there's no advice, but then there could be a contravention of your personal information. Okay, so they would look into the conduct of the broker, and then that would be investigated by the FSCA, who looks into the conduct. And our office is also open to receiving any complaints, and where we can, we actually refer them to the correct forums.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get back to the business at hand. Endowment policies seem to come under the radar and your microscope a lot. So I think
Yes.
I think where we need to kick off is to explain to everybody listening to us what exactly is an endowment policy, because often somebody knocks on your door, or no longer they knock on your door, you get an email, well, invest in this endowment policy. But what exactly is it?
Okay, an endowment policy, they are loosely referred to as investments, but they are in actual fact a life assurance policy where you invest your money for a minimum period of 5 years. An endowment policy is merely a wrapper, meaning that it's a vehicle that allows you to invest into a collective investment scheme or schemes of your choice over a period so that you can get a lump sum upon the maturity of the policy. It is the collective investment scheme, a product that one can also access directly, into which the funds are actually invested, and that is what generates a return. However, the truth is that endowment policies, while providing benefits to a specific niche investor, provide an additional layer of fees and charges and may not always be appropriate for the options of any consumer.
Right. You've basically also outlined some of the features of an endowment policy. And another question is coming in. This person says, is credit life? What is credit life? Is it part of of an endowment policy?
No, credit life is not a part of the endowment policy. The endowment policy is something totally different to credit life. Credit life policies, they offer cover, say for instance, if you've purchased something, and what can I give you an example on? If you have maybe an account
Right.
Okay, and then you're no longer employed or you get it retrenched, then the credit life policy would then assist you in those months where you're not able to pay your premiums.
Right. Now, Talisha, we've got some further questions to go through. Who should consider buying these endowment policies? The FICE Ombud for Financial Service Providers gives us free advice. So who should consider buying endowment policies?
Usually people with a regular stream of income and someone who has a need for a lump sum after a period of time are the ones who consider buying endowment policies. This is because an endowment policy provides a disciplined route of savings, which can come in handy in case of an emergency because you're only allowed to withdraw money from it then.
Right. I mean, one of the questions that it says that there are misconceptions around endowment policies. I think you've dealt with some of them, and you've also kind of half dealt with the next question, is that can a person withdraw from the endowment policy? Because I suspect you get a lot of complaints there, and the complaint is not exactly valid because people don't understand the terms and conditions of their endowment policy.
Yes, and that's where the problem comes in because a lot of people have these different investments and policies, but they don't understand exactly how they work. So to answer your question, yes, you can withdraw from an endowment policy. However, you need to consider some of the key facts before making this withdrawal because taking out of money from a fixed term investment should be avoided because there are penalties that come with the withdrawal. So you may only withdraw money during the restriction period, but it could be subject to penalties. And in the first 5 years, there is a restricted term, but after that you may withdraw from your investment at any time, and you may make withdrawals with no tax implications. You can also apply for an interest-free loan against the policy. Only one loan is allowed per policy. The loan can be repaid at a later stage, or the policy holder can elect not to repay the loan.
Right. Now, another question, does a person pay tax on an endowment policy? I mean, somebody might be taxed or not taxed and have some questions and come to you.
Yes, you are more than welcome if you have any questions to come to us because those actually that should have been disclosed to you before you actually buy the product or the tax implications. So with the endowment policy, once you make withdrawals, there are no tax implications.
Right. And of course, I mean, because an endowment policy, it's a fixed term investment, it's pretty much in black and white. And I do know from previous interviews that in certain policies, the financial service provider will have certain clauses allowing certain things. But of course, that's all pre-agreed. I'm sure you'll sort of agree with that.
Yes.
But what are the actual benefits in buying an endowment policy, doing it, and in fact, in your case, doing it properly?
Okay, endowment policies have their benefits, especially for high net worth investors. In other words, those with a marginal tax rate above 30% looking for an alternative to retirement annuities. They can be effective estate planning tools, especially where one has nominated a beneficiary. By nominating a beneficiary, the endowment policy is transferred upon the passing of the life assured, and there is no CGT on the transfer. Because it is deemed an asset in the estate of the deceased, it will not accrue estate duty and no executor fees. However, should a prospective investor not have a sizable investment, an investment horizon in excess of 5 years, a marginal tax rate in excess of 30%, or need to draw an income, then you may want to consider the appropriateness of an endowment policy as an investment option. The role of the FSP is therefore crucial in placing the client in a position to make an informed decision as the most suitable option. So it's actually up to the person that's actually rendering the advice to actually see whether this endowment is actually appropriate to the consumer and taking into account the consumer's needs.
Right, Talisha, in Latin there's a word called caveat, which I believe means beware. So,
Yes.
there are some things we need to check before buying an endowment policy, not so?
That's correct.
What would I have to check?
Like many other types of insurance plans, choosing a suitable policy will depend on many factors, including your current life stage, your individual needs, your income, and most importantly, your risk appetite. In other words, you must ensure that your financial advisor conducts a thorough needs analysis and that a recommendation is made that is appropriate to your needs and circumstances, and that you are placed in a position to make an informed decision as to whether the product recommended, in this case the endowment policy, is appropriate to your needs and your circumstances.
Right, and also, just very, very quickly as we start to wind down, and of course we'll do the commercial thing right at the end, what are some of the sort of predominant complaints that you would receive regarding endowment policies?
While an endowment policy is an option in respect of savings and yes, even investing, the concern for this office is that these products are sold as investments and not as life assurance policies. The office has noted that when endowment policies are sold as investments, there are no disclosures made in respect of the restrictions applicable, which means that some people believe that they can withdraw or access their money at any time and on numerous times. And sometimes also the fees and charges are in fact not also explained. As a result, recommendations are made when the client is unable to make an informed decision and is often left frustrated when the policy performs poorly or when the client is unable to access funds in a time of need.
Talisha, final question. The neon light is now flashing outside our studio. How do we get hold of the Financial Service Providers Ombud, the FICE Ombud?
You can visit our website on www.phaseombud.co.za and you can give us a call. Our number is 012-762-5000. We have a share call number, and that number is 0800 114 711. Or you can email us your complaint at info@phaseombud.co.za.
Talisha,
we are also available on various social media platforms as Phase Ombud. So you can see us on Twitter, on Facebook as well.
So in other words, you're basically everywhere.
Yes, we are.
Talisha Rotman, Case Manager for the FICE Ombud, Financial Services Providers Ombud, who looks after the needs of consumers in terms of financial services providers such as banks and investment houses. Talisha, been a pleasure chatting. Enjoy the week.
Thank you so much, Shafiq. You as well.
Have you seen